Joining us on the show is Amisha Vora. Amisha, Sudarshan, thank you so much for joining us. Amisha, quick take on where you think the markets are at the moment, and would you be positive? What are you expecting from the Prime Minister tomorrow?
So I think after budget, there is a lot of expectation from his speech tomorrow, and a good amount of enthusiasm is already built in. But as what we saw in your own channel yesterday, that there are very concrete plans to be achieved by FY15, which is not anything in expectation and air. On those lines, if we get to here, I think the momentum will then be maintained. Because as we very clearly know, fundamentals will take its own time to revive and change, but the announcements, actions on policy and macro is the only factor which is going to largely drive the markets at the moment. So yes, there's a lot of hope for tomorrow.
All right, it's worth pointing out, Senthil, before we go to Sudarshan, that I think we're at the high point of the day right now at 77.90 levels, 77.86, so just a wee bit lower than that, closer to the high point of the day. The market's up about 0.7% on the Nifty. I just want to point out some of the stocks that have done rather well in the last hour or so, which have helped these markets steadily climb higher. You want to take a look at BHEL. That stock got quite a walloping yesterday. Take a look at BHEL. We'll pull up that intraday chart for you. And that's BHEL. A big move up in the last half hour or so. Up now 2% in trade. Ambuja Cements. Harsha spent quite some time talking about how he liked the cement space as an investor and a fund manager. Ambuja Cements, a big move up in the last hour or so. HCL Tech has moved up about 0.5% or so. Technology was one of the weak areas in trade today. In fact, the IT sectoral index was the only one that was in the red earlier. We are seeing some slight moves up on HCL Tech. ACC was the other stock that did well, and Tata Power and L&T are worth mentioning as well. So you take a look at ACC, Tata Power and L&T, those intraday charts, some of those stocks that have moved up higher in the last half hour or so of trade.
So Darshan, since you already given us your view on the on the Nifty, let me get stock specific with you. GSW Steel is up. It's been up quite nicely today. How is it looking in the charts?
It's not looking very attractive. It's been up, but all said and done, it's also come down a lot, 20% almost. And the suggestion is that either it's consolidating or worse, it could continue a correction. So today, a lot of stocks are up because of the Nifty.
Okay. So one stock that are not up today because of even though the Nifty is up, has been a tremendous winner over the last couple of weeks, months, days. Eicher Motors. I know you always say you would, if a stock is forming new highs, you get into it. But at these levels, would you continue?
Oh yes, for Eicher Motors, I say I wish I get the courage to actually buy it. You know, you look at the price and say, wow, and then it goes up some more. So I would say that it's a buying opportunity. There is nothing to suggest that this uptrend momentum will stop. If you are an investor, 1 year down the line, you'll make money on it. But it is not a trading stock.
Amisha, can I ask for your view on the oil and gas space? Outside of the fact that BPCL has been a stellar performer through the course of the year, it does seem that the earnings of several of the other companies in this sector in the last few days are also very encouraging about the times to come. What is your position on oil and gas?
So I think the clear improvisations which have already happened is, apart from the fact that petrol is totally decontrolled, now diesel subsidy, if I'm not mistaken, is just about 1.5 rupees.
Yeah, less than that maybe even.
Correct, absolutely. So we are almost close to achieving, at par. And we are still looking at a change in gas pricing norms, which will also positively impact ONGC. So I think overall, and over a period of time, as we go through that, financial inclusion and direct subsidy, that will also keep reducing the overall burden of subsidy. So I think this sector is definitely set for a good re-rating, and particularly within that, apart from BPCL, I think ONGC is also a very good candidate for medium to long term.
The one sector that's probably set for a D-rating and which has already played out these last couple of weeks is infrastructure mid-cap, specifically infrastructure and capital goods mid-cap. What would you do with these stocks, Amisha? Get out, stay away from them for at least the next 1 year?
No, I wouldn't think so, because okay. I think that, so sorry, but I think that, yes, they will still go through a bit of this volatile markets or volatility in their price, but as the environment for some of their asset sale is becoming more conducive by so many different moves that government is making by way of infrastructure trust, by way of allowing banks to have those long-term bonds to fund these assets, and overall slightly better outlook for India whereby the foreign investments will come to buy these assets, I think these balance sheets will get gradually unlocked, and this is not the time to shun away if somebody wants to take a slightly medium to long-term view. But yes, short-term volatility will continue because the balance sheets are still in trouble.
So which ones do you like specifically within the space, and these are the stocks that you would be buying on dips?
So, we have two universe to look at. One is under our coverage and one which is safe, which will benefit out of the things which I mentioned.
Right.
And over and above that, they are capable of participating in the upcoming infrastructure order boom. So Larsen continues to be our top pick for a long, long time, and it will continue as our key top pick. But if you go to an area which is, most of the stocks are not under coverage, be it some of the stocks like GMR, be it some of the stocks like HCC, most of these places the coverage has dropped. So I can't with very definite way tell you which are our top picks within that. But as a basket approach, if one takes, then I think the environment is getting cleared, whereby the risk return over a medium to long term will be favorable.
All right, we're about 1 minute to go before the markets close.
Just about a minute to go, yes.
0.5% higher on both the key frontline indices, the Nifty and the Sensex. The Sensex doing a wee bit better than that. Definitely closing above that 26,000 level. For those of you who were hopeful of 7,800 on the Nifty today, well, that's not going to happen. We're going to close about 15 or 20 points below that. The mid-cap space now 1% higher, outperforming the frontline indices. As for stocks that did rather well today in trade, let's add those up for you. On the gaining side, you had Jindal Steel and Power. Senthil spoke about that. Up about 4% in trade. GAIL 3%. United Spirits up about 3%. Cipla 3%. We're awaiting the earnings on that one. Ambuja Cement up 2.5%. Sesa Sterlite up 2.5%. Tata Motors up 2.5%. The Tata Motors DVR is also doing very well in trade today. Tata Power up 2.5%. And L&T is amongst the top gainers, also up 2.5%. On the losing side, you had mostly technology that didn't do very well today. So you had HCL Tech, TCS. These were some of the stocks that did poorly. Infosys just coming into the green just while the markets closed. Hero Moto, though, was the top losing stock, so down 2.5% in trade today, joined by Bajaj Auto, down about 1%. You had some financial stocks that ended in the red, so Kotak Mahindra Bank, SBI, these stocks didn't do well today at all. HDFC, which has been a pillar of strength for this market the last 3 days, HDFC ending about 2% lower, and Hindalco was the other stock that did poorly in trade today, down about 2%. Those earnings were out earlier in the afternoon today. On the mid-cap side?
Well, mid-cap first, I think what we've got to look at is 7,800 was perhaps a bit of a long call, but I think the bulls would be happy that 77.50 was defended quite well, finishing at 77.85. And look at cash market volume, almost 15,000 crores. So that's pretty good for that's, I would say, very, very good for the last day of trade. So 50,000 rupees on 50,000 crores on cash market. So that's pretty good. A bunch of mid-cap up almost slightly overperforming the Sensex and the Nifty. Marks and Pharma, Timken India, Wonderly Holidays. You want to look at a whole host of small and mid-cap shares. Prakash Industries moving up after giving up so much after the Syndicate Bank corruption bribery case hit it quite hard. Sugar stocks not doing too badly. Bajaj Hindustan came back up about 7%. Sri Renuka up about 6%. Cement, the mid-cap cement not doing too badly. India Cements up quite nicely. NCC made some of the wiped out some of the losses that it made yesterday after the poor number that was up. India Bulls Real Estate is up, but let's go across to Sudarshan. Sudarshan, a close at 77.91. I think that's the close after adjustments. What would you say?
Well, I would say it's okay. The markets are up, and it's not necessary that we have to go to 7,800 plus or 7,840 immediately. My critical levels were 77.50. That were decisively broken on the upside today. So to me, there was a trading range, and today there was a breakout from the trading range. On Monday, I hope there will be some kind of a follow through. Personally, I'm not at all concerned with what the Prime Minister will do tomorrow and say. He's doing his job. And that's the reason why the markets are going up. I don't think he's going to stand on the ramparts of the Red Fort and say, I'm abolishing STT for you. He's not going to do that anyway.
I hope he doesn't. Thanks very much, Sudarshan, for that reality check. You know, Amisha, I wanted to ask you about the metal space. The trends have been very, very confusing, and yet SESA is one of those stocks that has done really well this week. I think amongst the top gainers this week, up about 7 or 8%. How do you explain what's gone on with metals? What is your view on where metals will go from here onwards? Whether you break them up into ferrous and non-ferrous, or look at them as a whole?
So I think the very broad fundamental change which has really been happening is we are looking at slightly better volume growths than what happened in last 2-3 years in India. But beyond that, what's really been happening is that the stronghold on raw material which was there globally, be it on iron ore or be it on coking coal side, that's getting weaker. And so we think that the converters, like any of these metal manufacturers, will have a better time and their conversion margins will improve. Okay. The caveat only being that the Chinese growth being slower, the metal prices are not expected to go up substantially. But conversion margin we expect will do better. So I think relatively they will be definitely better off than what they were in last 2 to 3 years. And beyond that, their ability to reduce debt through equity raising will also increase. But they are not, I don't think they are going to be outperforming the markets in a big way, but they do merit a look.
All right. Which amongst them do you merit a look? Which do you like the most? We've had different favorites play out. Unfortunately, today, Hindalco's not done very well on the back of its earnings, but many people have picked that as amongst their top picks in the sector. Tata Steel has thrown up a chorus surprise. What do you like the most in the metals space?
So our top pick in this sector continues to be Jindal Steel and Power. We think that the kind of investments that they've already made, both in their steel facilities as well as in power, in last 3 years, almost totaling 35,000 crores. Over next 2 years, we think their EBITDA will almost double from 5.5 to 11,000 crores. And that's where we think that the stock will start doing very well. And also that debt levels on an absolute basis may remain almost constant, but relative to EBITDA will look much more reasonable. So I think the stock will go through both earnings upgrade, earnings growth, as well as a slight re-rating.
Sudarshan, if I can get you in on BHEL, we saw a nice little move up towards the end of trade, up almost 2.5–3% in the last hour of trade. How is that looking?
No, when BHEL had fallen on the back of results, I had said that at some point when it stops falling, we must become buyers in it. You know, in a good market, stocks fall and those declines are buying opportunities. So for BHEL, the market is already closed. Next week, if the price stabilizes, we want to buy. We just ignore any other news on that part.
Voltas, big winner today?
Oh, Voltas, I've been up. Yeah, big winner. I've been upbeat. I gave it in my buy list before results were announced, and I'm very gratified to see that's done well. It's not over yet. If you're an investor, you shouldn't just exit. You must hold on. For traders, it's a good time to take profits.
Do you track Syndicate Bank? I know it's been in the news for all the wrong reasons, but today it managed to break out of the bear grip, up about almost 4%.
Yes, but there are so many other opportunities in the PSUs, and really it's been in the news, but I wouldn't worry about that. But I would focus on the two best PSU banks at this point are PNB and Bank of Baroda. So I think we should be fixed on that.
A quick word in, Sudarshan, on Unitech. That stock having, what, a terrible week, down 12%?
But up 5% today.
Yeah, well, but bad earnings, so...
Yeah, but... I wouldn't touch it. I mean, because this is not a... first of all, real estate is not my favorite. And
that's true, I know, you've told us.
It's been proved. And Unitech is least favorite among the real estate stocks. Okay, so for me, it's a no buy.
Then how do you treat Crump and Green? They got rid of some real estate.
I think it's going to go sideways for a lot of time. It's good they got rid of that, but Voltas is the preferred pick.
A quick question on real estate to you, Amisha, before we wrap it up. Anything there that you like, or do you share Sudarshan's sentiments, stay away from real estate?
So there are opportunities, but particularly let's talk about Unitech. So Unitech has demonstrated that, they could sell to one of the best in the world almost 4,500 or 5,000 crore worth of assets, which they were owning. Now they stand at a debt level of something like 6,000 crores. Of course, on the ground, these sales are still very, very poor, but the balance sheet restructuring is demonstrated and it is underway. And at these valuations, with the kind of land that one is holding, I don't think I will be negative, And there are horizons on which investors invest. So somebody's horizon could be a month or a week, whatever. But on a medium to long term, I don't think these are the valuations where we can really ignore these. They gradually will keep coming into favor. That's what my view is.
All right, fair enough. Thank you to both of you for joining us this afternoon, and a very happy Independence Day and a long weekend to both of you. Do enjoy your weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you for being on CNBC TV18. Now, as we gear up to celebrate our Independence Day, tomorrow that is, Nigel joins us with an interesting set of data on how much the markets have moved since August 14th last year. So that's
Nathan.
Independence Day 2013.
Yeah.
The Independence